Lyricsporn, also known as Tom Shimura, is a pioneer in the Bay Area hip-hop scene with a catalog of hit singles and recordings. Lyricsporn spoke with the audience before the performance at Stern Grove Festival on July 26, 2009.
Well, I think, what I was starting to encounter was that when I was doing, when we started putting out records in the early 90s, it wasn't really, I mean, you can just take a look in this room. I mean, it's not, when you're from the Bay Area, to meet a Palestinian DJ or a Filipino rock guitarist, it's not unusual, but when you start to tour the world and really if you start to tour outside of California, you start to realize that, it's not the norm. So I started getting a lot of press at that time, around the time when we were making records, and they were like, the Japanese MC, the Asian MC, da-da-da-da-da-da, and it didn't feel right for a couple reasons, because it just didn't feel like, I was really being listened to or evaluated based on the music. And then at the same time, I think, a big part of the perception of us as a group in this country is that there's no difference, from group to group. So it just got a little weird, because, people, I think, particularly with Asian Americans, people have a tendency to lump us into all in one kind of group, which is not accurate. So it's not, I didn't really think it was particularly fair to us as a group and to myself as an individual. People started listening to the music more, and it also stopped showing up in the press, and so but at the same time, it was something that I really felt like I wanted to discuss, and we needed to have dialogue on. If you listen to particularly with my album from last year, Everywhere at Once, I mean, there's songs like The Skin I'm In and Cakewalk, and a lot of other songs that I definitely talk about. But the thing is, 10 years later, I can talk about it on my terms, and we can have real dialogue, and I can talk about it in a way that's actually constructive, as opposed to having some reporter saying, "Oh wow, he raps pretty good for a Japanese guy," you know what I mean? And that's something that I don't think my peers go through, on a lot of levels. So at least not in the genre that I'm in. It's really amazing when, I mean, I got here today. I've never been to a Stern Grove show before, but everybody, when I told them I was doing it, they're like, oh, But I got out here this morning, I was in awe. I was not ready. And of course, I got right on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, you know. But I was just not ready. And I think, I almost, it kind of welled up a little bit, because I was like, wow, after 15 years, and not an ease, like in the trenches for 15 years, all uphill. And I can see this, and it's the first time that I'm told it's the first time that they've ever had an all hip hop day here, and they commissioned me to not only headline but curate it. It feels pretty good. When I first moved to the Bay Area from Utah, I heard some kids on the schoolyard going hip hop, hippie to the hip, and I was like, "What is that?" And then they said, "Oh, that's hip hop, that's rap." Actually, back then it was called beat. That's beat, and I was like, "Okay, how does it go?" And then three kids just kind of sat me down and rapped the entire song. So, right. Oh, and back then, those were like 10-minute songs. But I was like this the whole time. Wow. So by the time I had heard the actual song, I knew all the words. I hadn't even heard the song yet. I just heard, the kids on this. And at that moment, I was like, I always knew I was going to be some sort of artist or performer, but I didn't really know what. But at that moment, I knew. I was like, okay, I can do this. I really believe that, and especially the longer my career goes on, I really have the benefit of firsthand seeing certain periods and eras because there's so much information there and there's so much history that I try to incorporate into my music now, but in order to make it go forward. Like, I'm so not interested in making retro. I'm so not interested in making contemporary hip hop, Like, I'm thinking about tomorrow, I really am. And so, if it's something that and I think, that was one of the things that I got criticized a lot for early on was that, oh, it's too musical. Oh, what kind of rapping is that? You're rapping too fast. Rap, 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 But all the things, it's funny because now all the things that I think I was criticized for became assets, So, I think one of the things that I always try to do, like no matter how bad at that moment music may seem, or how bad the economy goes, or what everybody else is doing, I think one thing that I've always tried to do is just really keep pushing. Sometimes I'm working on a song, or and if I get nervous, I'm like, oh, people aren't going to get this. You know what I mean? That's when I know I'm doing the right thing, because I feel like, it should be challenging in certain ways. Never. Maybe we'll do a best of when I die. Because I'm just one of those guys. If I don't feel like my best is yet to come, I don't feel motivated. You know what I mean? So hopefully never. I honestly, I think it's God, number one, and I think that I just, I always felt before it was about because, I wanted attention, or maybe girls or something like that, but that was like when I first started. But now it's more so about what can I add to the human landscape that hasn't been done yet. Like what can I add? What can I add on that is going to benefit somebody in their lives in some way? You know what I mean? So every time I make an album, I kind of take a look at what's out there and what people are doing and what the landscape is like, and whatever people are not doing, that's why I try to insert myself. You know what I mean? Because I don't know how it serves other, people for me to do exactly what everybody else is doing. I don't see how I'm adding on, by doing, what the next guy's doing and the next guy's doing. So I think what really inspires me and what really drives me is to be able to create something that people haven't heard before, or maybe it's something I haven't heard before, Thank you.
Your support helps make possible Stern Grove Festival's admission-free concerts and outreach programs. Please make a donation online at www.sterngrove.org.